Well, some verbs in English have stative meaning. They describe the states, conditions, or a situation. When they have stative meaning, they are rarely, if ever, used in the progressive tenses. Like an example, yum, the food tastes good. So tastes here describe the state of the food. So hello everybody, I'm Nora from Young Teachers, and in our lesson today we'll learn together about the stative verbs and the 5 categories of the stative verbs, and at the end of the lesson we will learn together about the verbs that have both active and stative meaning. As I said, the stative verbs usually can be used in the continuous tenses. Okay, so the stative verbs equal in the meaning of the state verbs. They describe a state rather than an action. Okay, and it express 5 categories. Okay, so those 5 categories are thoughts and opinion, senses, feeling and emotion, position, and verbs aren't in action. And we will learn them through the lesson. Most of the stative verbs only used in the simple tenses. If I say simple tenses, that mean present and past simple, present and past perfect simple, and future simple. Okay, and if I say that they will not use in the present and past continuous and present and past perfect continuous and the future continuous. Okay, some examples of the stative verbs like have, or like here, measure, know, have, and like. Okay, so let's take the here. The word here is a really good example for the stative verb. Like an example, here. So here there is no action here. Here. So I hear the sound. Yes, you will hear it. If you don't want to hear it, and if you want to hear it, you will hear it. So there is no action here. So this is a state verb. But the verb listen is an action verb. If I the radio, okay? If the radio, I'm listening to the radio. Okay, so if I don't want to listen it, I will turn it off. Okay, so the radio, if I don't want to listen it, I'll turn it off. Are you listening to me? So if you don't want to listen to me, you will not listen to me. And the same in the verb see and watch and look. See is a state verb, but watch and look are inaction verbs. Okay, so some verbs have an action meaning and a stative meaning, and this is much tricky. Okay, like an example, measure. The table measures 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter. So this describes the state of the table, but the same meaning in the verb measure, but here in an action. I am measuring the window to the curtains, okay? And this is an action. So I am measuring now. I am measuring now. So this is an action. Okay? Okay, so just put these basics down. Let's learn the stative verbs in a context. Okay, we break it down into 5 categories as I said. And let's talk about the first group of the stative verbs. The first group is verbs of thoughts and opinion. Let's take an example. I agree it can be hard to understand the difference between English tenses. So in this sentence there is 2 stative verbs. Can you see them? Agree and understand. So if I want to make an example, she agrees with me. Not she is agreeing with me. We understand you. Not we are understanding you. Okay, so this is most verbs of opinion and thoughts. Like an example, believe, imagine, adopt, suppose, concern, describe, know, forget, realize. Okay, so this is the first group of the stative verb. So let's take the second use of the stative verbs, or the second group of the stative verbs. The senses, okay? Like see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. Okay, and those verbs usually don't come with the continuous tenses. Notice that I said usually. Yes, usually. Because they also can be used as an act of tasting, smelling, or feeling. Like an example, I am tasting the cake to make sure it's a cake. So here there is an act of tasting, but this cake tastes delicious. So this sense, tastes here come as a sense, this a state. Okay, so this is the difference between them. Okay, so now let's take the third group of the stative verbs, are called verbs of feeling and emotion. Verbs of feeling and emotion. Okay, let's take an example. I need to find out what Sarah likes eating when she is sad. Okay, so I notice the two stative verbs here, need and like. Okay, so avoid using, okay, so we rarely, if ever, use them with the continuous tenses. Okay, so I can't say what is Sarah liking, and we will understand it much more at the end of a lesson. What is Sarah liking? Okay, so this is wrong. Okay, and we will understand it much more at the end of the lesson. Some examples of verbs of feeling and emotion: love, prefer, dislike, order, surprise. Okay, and avoid using these words, or avoid using them in the continuous tenses. Now let's take the fourth group of the stative verbs. Okay, so the fourth group talks about verbs of position. Okay, like an example, belong, own, possess, or have. Okay, so like an example, the doll belongs to my sister. So I can't say the doll is belonging to my sister. Okay, so the verb have here is belongs to this category when it means owns or position. Okay, now let's take the fifth category, or the fifth group of the stative verbs. The fifth group is all verbs are in actions, like deserve, promise, or seem, weigh, fit, measure, depend. Okay, like an example, I promise not to be late, and all these verbs not an action. Okay, so I promise, this is an example, I promise not to be late. So this all verbs, most verbs of the stative verbs in these uses. Okay, now you are seeing these verbs: loving, smelling, owing, around. Okay, so just mean you don't use it with the continuous tense. It doesn't mean that you won't see them in ing form. Ing form not come with the continuous tenses only, but it may become like an adjective or a noun too. Well, there is a tip here. This tip is P will always be there when it continuous tense. Okay? So if you see P plus main verb plus ing, okay, it will be equal the continuous. Okay? So like an example, we were playing together. So this is an action. We were playing. But she is eating a sandwich. Also, there is an action here. So this is the present continuous, or this a continuous tense. Okay? So like an example, this, we're playing. So if you say this, be plus the main verb plus ing. If you see this, okay, this meaning and this sentence with P and main verb plus ing, so this will be equal the continuous tense. Okay? But I hear some surprising news. Is there here P plus main verb plus ing? No. So surprising here is an adjective. Surprising news. Okay? So I described the news that it was surprising. But and seeing is believing. This is much tricky. Okay? Seeing is believing. Here is a main verb and here is a P and main verb plus ing. But seeing is believing. There is a noun. Believing here works as a noun. Seeing is believing. Seeing is a gerund and believing is a gerund. Like an example, this today is Monday. So today is Monday equal seeing is believing. Okay? So some verbs have the both meaning, an active and a stative meaning. Okay? So you must decide the meaning of the verb before you choose the tense, if it's simple tense or a continuous tense. Okay, I'm entitled that have is a stative verb if it means position. Okay, so let's take this point now. Mickey has a green bike. So here, Mickey has a green bike. If has here means owns or possession or possess, okay, so this means it a stative verb. And there is much new, you must notice it. Have maybe change meaning, like host, expect, eat, drink. I can say I'm having dinner. Okay, this means I'm eating dinner. And here there is an action verb. Like an example, we are having a party this weekend. So have here equal the meaning of host. So there is an action verb here. Okay? So if you see own or possess, so this is a stative verb. And the same thing in the verb be. Okay, if I say you are funny, okay, you are funny, so be here at state. You are funny, okay? But if I say you are being funny, so be here like the meaning of acting or behaving. So if it's meaning of acting or behaving, so this means that be here will be in the present or be in the continuous tense. Okay? Okay, sometimes this rules is broken by native speakers. Okay, like an example, you're gonna see a native speaker will say, I'm loving this song. So, I'm loving this song. He said that in the moment of enjoying. So in the moment of enjoying, you will say, I'm loving this song. Okay? So this is a temporary case. Okay, so lots of verbs have lots of meanings, like the verb appear. An example, in the stative verb, he is appear that he isn't here. So this is a stative verb. But if I say the sun is appearing, so the sun is appearing, so this is an action verb. Okay? So this is the stative verbs, and I hope you understand them very easily. Okay? And thank you. See you in the next lesson. Bye.